Today on Gamers Couch,
Dragonsgate College.
Hello and welcome to the couch, to the table, to the snowy surroundings of Dortmund where the Dragonsgate College is. You're just waiting to interrupt my intro, aren't you? Your face is definitely saying that. So, welcome. This is Daniel. I am Sarah, and we like to play board games and like to share our very important opinions about them with you every Sunday on this show. And today we go back to school. I know, folks, September is the time to go back to school, but, well, we're kind of different, so why not in that department as well? The video, as per usual, will be sectioned into... I just remembered that I have to tease something. Oh, I remembered the game. Okay, I totally forgot. Screwing up shit on my own. I don't need you to interrupt my intros. But we're talking about rules and gameplay first, show you a few turns, give you a feeling of what this game is all about. Then we talk about what we liked or not liked, have a thumb rating, and tell you funny stories and experiences. There will be a teaser for Draw for Initiative, which I just remembered. I'm so bad this week. And of course, there will be an opening of Advent Calendar packet number 2 by Daniel. I think I got it off, did I? Why are you looking like me? Looking at me like that. Not why are you looking like me? I mean, that would be awesome, but...
I need to grow hair my head beard a little bit more to look like you.
Oh, I definitely just had one coffee this morning. It's
Cheers
very
and hello.
apparent.
I'm now allowed
sorry.
to speak. I wanted to be nice and not interrupt, but apparently I am interrupting even if I'm not interrupting.
Well, your facial expression is a language all on its own. It speaks very loudly. Do your thing with the rules and gameplay. I'm gonna have fun with your facial expressions in post-editing. What's wrong with me? Post-production. Do the talking, please. I'm gonna be silent and hopefully have some tea and honey to get the motor running in my head to speak correctly. Rules and gameplay. Go. Speak!
Now?
Yes!
Okay. Sure?
Oh, come on.
Welcome to Dragonsgate College, in which we are doing something that we've been probably doing a lot this year. That is drafting dice to do things and then win using or accumulating the most victory points. Dragonsgate College is, in a nutshell, pretty much what would happen if you had a, let's say, Hogwarts simulator. Meaning, you have this college. Actually, it's a little bit more than Hogwarts because it's not only wizards and witches, but it's also fighters and thieves, or let's say, distinguished acrobats, who are going there to train for their career, and then they're sent out, and if they are successful, so is your house, so to speak, successful, and that is the kind of the objective of the game. So each player is not necessarily representing a particular student or a particular professor. You're almost like the Slytherins, or you're like the Ravenclaws. And for that purpose, you recruit professors, you pick what students you want to enroll into your house, you educate them, send them out on quests, and hopefully they come back bringing you prestige, because that's what really matters in the world, your prestige rating. And then at the end, there's a counting who has the most prestige points, and he who does wins the game. I think that's...
Can we once in a while interject the word she instead of he? It's so...
So it's not that I'm that I'm gender agnostic, I'm already foreshadowing
the funny stories and experiences. Thank you.
The gameplay experience. Well, you might be wondering why I have my player board here a little bit elevated. That is because I need to actually put it in front of the other camera because this is one of the games that even though there's actually not much on the board, it is still managing to take the entire table.
It is made for senior citizens as well. It's blown up really big.
True.
So I can play.
True. So yes, it is a rather space-consuming kind of game. So we have this big board in front of us, which is the main playing board, but each player also has this little player's board, which I hope you can see on the other camera. And this kind of represents how good you are in educating your students. It has space for your students. It has space for the professors that you have on staff. And there's even empty spaces here for which you can, let's say, acquire additional rooms, place them on here, and then have more space for more professors, tutors, to send people out there. Or you have rooms that add spaces that count as additional students for end-game scoring and so on. You have this handy little track in which kind of surmises the bonus you get from your professors, which makes a little bit more sense when I talk about how you send these students on quests. But this quickly tells me that in my current setup with these two professors, I get a +1 on magic and I get a +1 on combat. I don't get a bonus currently on skullduggery, thieving.
It's a warrior.
Thieving.
No, the warrior's on the right hand side.
So if I would send a student out, they get these as a bonus. There's also some additional dice here. I have maintenance costs, which will go up the more elaborate I build out my hood, my
campus, as other people say.
My learning cave, I guess. And on the other side, where the thumb rests, this is actually where our achievements go. So if a student successfully returns from a quest, you will get one of these little tokens, and you can place them on here, and they will record your achievements, so to speak, and sometimes even add bonuses or give you some extra rewards. Whenever you cover a picture on here, you will get that bonus immediately. Meaning, if you cover this thing, you get a coin. If you cover this thing, your kind of knowledge in the fighting arts increases by 1. And that's how you can use those. Okay, so that is the player board that everybody has. Now we take a look at the main board. As I said, this is a dice drafting game. So in the center of the board and center of our attention are the dice, which are in this hourglass, and you get to roll them at the beginning of each round. You are playing over 5 rounds, which is tracked over here. And this also reminds you how many dice per player are in the pool per round. So we start with 2 dice per player, and then it'll eventually go up to 3 dice per player with round 3. Also, each player puts one of his colored dice into the pool, and that is important because that gives you a special bonus if another player is using your die, meaning you get an extra action, which makes sense in a second. So we roll these dice at the beginning. We get some money actually to get us started. It's 2 coins per player. So I have now 2 coins. Sarah actually has 3 coins because I have the starting player wooden thing.
Token, that's the word.
And on my turn, all I do is I'm picking one of the dice that I can pick up there. I don't think that I'm currently good enough to actually do something useful in sending my students out, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that right now. So what can I do? I can pick any of these 4 dice, and the actions that are available to me depend on where I want to do something. So there's, in broad strokes, this entire area here are the quests that I can send my students to complete. And if I, let's say, want to send a student here to grab me or to do a magic quest, he needs a 3 in magic and a 1 in the other 2 skills. Exactly. I could also send someone here to do a thievery thing, and then he needs a 3 in thievery and 1 in all the others. So that's how all these little tokens work like. Here you need a 4 in the required skill, and actually your student also needs to have at least 1 point. You can consider that the student has to be talented at least in whatever thing you want to do. And if you are successful, you would take the thing that you get here. These typically grant another bonus, like this gives you money and counts as a trophy at the end of the game. This moves you forward on this so-called subterfuge track, which essentially at the end gives you points if you are the farthest on this. Then you also get a bonus just by completing one of these. And whenever you complete them, as I said, you put them onto your player board and start collecting them. That is important because there's different kind of difficulty levels. So these are level 1, so to speak. These are a little bit easier to do, and which is typically where you send your first couple of students. But if you get better professors and better students, you can send them over here. But now there might be additional requirements, like this one that says, in addition to having a 5-1-1, you also need to have at least 1 completed magic quest on your board. Or this one just says you need to have any other quest to send someone here, while this one actually has no requirement at all. So it depends. And these are randomly set up at the beginning of the game, so each game is a little bit different. And the same for the level 3 thing, only that here the requirements might be even a little bit harsher, but as you can see, the rewards are also higher. So that is the way you can send the students. And by the way, if you send out a student, you take him off your board, which frees up the space for another student, but you are using up the student. It's not that he's dying, but he kind of learned what he had to learn, because now that he completed this quest and made a name for himself and gained us prestige points, he's kind of gone from the school. So surprisingly, he's
working in a company.
This is not an 18-book adventure about a single student. This is about you running student prestige business, so to speak.
Well, in the manual, it says that they're apprentices and they move forward into the working world of the company. That's why they don't come back. They have a job then. So, I mean, I like the quest thing a little more. It makes very nice stories in my head. But yeah.
Yeah, well, we assume they survive the quest and then come back with prestige, but then go off to write a book about their adventures and get rich or something like that. So that's one part of the board. Another part of the board is the training dungeon, where you can send someone into the dungeon. If you, by the way, to use this, you need to use up a die with a 1, 3, or 6. Here you can send someone with a 4, 5, or 6, and depending which die you pick, the further along someone goes in the dungeon, and you get these bonus things along the way. So if I would pick the red 6, which is incidentally also my die, and that would give me no bonus at all, because I only get a bonus if someone else picks my die, I could send myself 3 spaces forward, gaining me a coin, an imp, and an increase in my combat abilities. Now, coins are one of the currencies, and we'll see how they are used when we get to buying buildings. Imps are another useful thing that you can get. Imps are these little tokens, and you can spend them to adjust the die by 1. So you can turn a 6 into a 5 or into a 1, so it just flows over, or obviously turn a 3 into a 2, and so on. So sometimes you really are happy if you have a little imp that can do the kind of the work for you. If you manage to get to the end, if you're the first, you not only get these 4 points, you also get one of these trophies. And the trophies count X additional points at the end of the game if you have certain sets of them. So either 3 different ones or 3 of the same. But that is something you want to try to collect throughout the game, which is actually quite powerful. Even though sometimes you really have to look twice, because if you look at these little quest tokens here, these also produce different achievement bowls, trophies, and that you want to pick out the correct one, so to speak. So that's this one and this one. Then on this side, we have the means to get new students and new professors. So if I would use a 1 or a 2, I can pick up one of these professors, and you already might be able to see that these are better. So she is giving me a +2 on magic and a +1 on the thievery skill, while my starting professors only give me +1 in one department. So I could hire one of those and either replace one of my professors, or if I, for example, use this action here and build a building that gives me an additional space for a professor, then I can have the third one in addition to the other two. Buildings also grants you immediate victory points. So for each space that you there's 1 space, 2 space, 3 space buildings. Each space nets you one point for that, but you also have to pay 2 coins per space that you want to build. And also, and that is your annoying thing each turn, for each size building, your maintenance cost will increase, and that is the amount of money you have to pay each turn to actually maintain everything. If you cannot pay, you will lose prestige points, which is not good. You kind of want to avoid that. You can also, with a 1, 3, or 6, directly convert money into prestige points, or you can get money with a 2, 3, or 4. And lastly, on this side, with a 1, you get to do something that is as follows. If there's a neutral white die already in the used up part of the hourglass, if you then have a 1, let's pretend this is a 1, you put it there and can replace one of these white dice with one of the red die or whatever colored dice from your player board. If you do that, that die stays in there for the upcoming turns, and that brings me to why would you want to have your dice in there. As I said, you'll get a small bonus. So if actually I would take the yellow 3, not only do I get to use the 3 action, directly after me, the yellow player, in our case Sarah, would also get a free 3 action. So that is why you might want to have more of your dice in here, because it increases your chances, unless your other player makes the dick move of not picking your dice and trying to avoid giving you that extra action. But if you're playing with 3 or 4 players, it is more likely that someone will end up picking your dice simply because you are not in the 2-player kind of head-to-head, I'm going to screw up with your dice drafting, hate drafting as some might call it. And lastly, but not as excitingly, you can also spend this to put your little disc on here, and then that means you are becoming the starting player for the next round. If nobody's doing that, starting player will just pass clockwise, which is, I think, not as important in a 2-player game, or at least we haven't found it as important in a 2-player game, but I think it's more importantly in a 4-player game. Yeah. That you want to go first. So
let's do some playing.
Yes, I think.
Which die do you want to screw me over with?
Yeah, I'm the students that are available here are not that great. I would love to get a new professor, but the professors I cannot get with the dice that we have there. My students aren't really good enough to send them out to do something useful. So this kind of is not really available to me. That's all not very great. That's one might say, crap roll. So what I'm going to do, I might screw myself with this, but I'm picking my own die to move me forward 3 spaces, which will give me a coin, an imp, which might come in handy in my next move. And I also get to increase my combat prowess, which brings me closer to having one of my students actually being able to maybe fulfill one of the more simple tasks.
Since I have the ultra glare on the students, could you tell me, do we have one that has a 2 on the yellow or the red?
This one has a 2 on the yellow and a 0 on all the others.
Okay, so I'm gonna buy him with, excuse me, a number 4.
Okay.
Yeah. And now I'm going to take out the one student that has a 1 on the yellow thingamajig and just put the
you can.
Oopsie,
I mean,
the neutral one.
You are the master of your house, so you can throw away students and or professors, and it's kind of.
I don't throw them away. I just send them on.
Kind of sad, but
reception duty.
So what I'm going to do is I will use my freshly acquired imp to use that 3 as a 2 to actually get a better professor. Since I think this one here makes a little bit more sense, does it? Or whatever. I will replace my professor with her, which increases. Let me put it here. So my old one had 1 in magic, and this has 2 in magic and 1 in thievery. So this effectively increases these by 1, which might bring me closer to actually doing something useful with one of my students. We will see.
I'm gonna use my own die to go to this spot here. With my newly acquired student, I have 3 on the yellow track, so I have a major accomplishment here. I have 1 on the red, and I have 0 on the magic. Now I can spend 1 coin.
You have
to increase the magic, because I need both of the other skills to be at least 1, and I only have 1 that is 1, and the other is none.
And that is something I haven't told you yet.
Nope.
You can pay money to increase the lower requirement skills to match them, but you must match at least the high requirement skills. So Sarah needs to have the thievery skill at 3 or higher to be able to do that, and then can pay money to raise up the other 2 to get close to that. Other places where you can spend money to do some more interesting parts are these 2 where you get the professor or the student, where you can pay money to just pick the top one from the stack, which is like a blind draw if you are really unhappy with what is available to you there.
Or if there is none left. Because 3 other players took
these will get refilled up between rounds, so yes.
Yeah. So now I need to score. I get an imp and 1 victory point. And on my tiny little token, it says that I have a seal, and
goes forward.
This one goes here, and I'm gonna place it onto my board, which you unfortunately cannot see, but I'm getting another imp for that.
Tiny seal icon that you also see on here. That is used as a tiebreaker at the end of the game if you're tied for anything, but mostly for the subterfuge track.
And I'm done.
And that was round 1. So now we.
Oh, I need to get rid of the student.
Now we clean up, meaning all the students that are on here and the professors go away, and we will put out new ones for them for the next round.
And I'm gonna give you your income money already, and I'm gonna take my 2 coins as well. Coinsins. And then we are in round 2. We still got 2 colorful dice only, and now.
So colored dice always stay in there. So the amount of dice per player that is there, that is the total amount of dice that are in there. As soon as you bring your own colored dice in,
I wanna imp, and I'm gonna change this to a 1.
Well,
And since it's used, then I'm going to bring in one of my colored dice.
The thing is, if you are using an imp, you are actually not really modifying the dice, you're just modifying the result for yourself. Meaning, if someone is using your colored die and modifying it, you still get the original pip count. So if Sarah would have used the red 5 and used the imp to make it a 6, I would get to use the 5, but I could also, if I had any imps, modify that
to a 4 or a 6 if you like.
To something different. Yeah. Correct. Unfortunately, I don't have any imps,
you used them already.
And I cannot send one of my guys to do a quest, which is slightly annoying. I think I'll try to get another professor that adds up my chances. So I think I'm getting this one that just gives +1 on everything. Again, increasing my magic and my thievery skill. And now it's your turn.
How many coins was it for the big building? 6, right?
Yes. It's one coin per space. Sorry, 2 coins per space. And you get to choose which building you want to have. So the manual has a nice list of what all the effects are on the buildings.
I'm going to use your die. And I'm moving 2 spots for a coin and an imp.
Okay. I'm also then using the 5 to advance myself 2 spots, so I'm getting 3 coins and
a victory point.
And a victory point. And since the 4 is the only thing left here, there's not a lot that I can do. I could get more coins, which I think is actually not that bad of an idea. So I'm getting 4 coins by spending the 4 over there.
And I want to have a new apprentice. Do we have one that is really strong with the red axe?
Yes, this one has 0, 0, and a 2.
Yep, thank you.
And so the game goes on, and we are going through the motions of that. There's only a couple of things that get added to that. These colored dice mean that you put this black die in here, that whenever it is drafted, you use it as if it belongs to everybody, so everybody gets a free action after your turn. Other things we haven't seen yet so far. Some of the rewards here involve these magic cards, which you will then draw and can either play when it's your action. So in this case here, this would reduce our maintenance by 2, and all other players get a free move on the dungeon track. So these cards almost, I think, all actually work on that principle that you get something cool, but everybody else gets something a little less cool. And then there's cards that say immediately, and yes, you have to play them immediately once you get them. The other ones you can keep on hand, up to 2 cards, and play whenever you, as I said, have to or get an action. So in this case, you either get 2 imps or you get to increase your battle stat, and every other player gets 2 coins and an imp. Actually, 2 imps. Did I say 2 imps? I don't know.
I didn't listen to you. I'm sorry.
That's what's happening to me all the time. And, well, as I said, the buildings all have different effects. I just want to show them quickly. Some of them are more complicated. Well, complicated in quotation marks, but for example, this building gives you victory points depending on which turn you buy this building. So if you buy this on turn 1, you would get 4 points for this, which is pretty sweet. And some actually reduce the maintenance cost after you buy them, so it's almost like you're getting a discount on the building. And you will just keep on going on for 5 turns, and then you take this handy little guide that will explain to you what is worth something. Money is worth something, imps are worth something, and then, as I said, sets of acquired trophies are worth a lot of points, and you will get some points for if you have the most students, like active students on your board, if you have the most professors on your board, or if you have the most buildings. But that's only just one point. If you have different careers in here, like trophy points, quest points, sorry, you get points for that. And if you for every empty space that is not covered, you actually get points reduced. We don't have to have the Sherlock in Dragonsgate College. I mean, he's a nice person, don't get me wrong, but he can stay in his own universe, I think. Can you say age and player number and let me totally very professionally, casually look on the box. Well, this game is for 2 to 4 players. It is for little
wizards. Word wizards.
For warlocks and witches, as well as the thieves, age 12 and up. And it says it goes 60 to 90 minutes, which I will immediately object because that highly depends on how many players you're playing with.
And that leads us directly into likes and dislikes, and you can keep going with that sentence. I just want to have the divider.
I want to say we played this with 2, maybe in 30 minutes. So it is
including setup time. So we were really fast.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing or not getting hung up to someone. Actually, the thing that takes the most time is because the board is so large that you need to lean over to read sometimes doing that.
But that is actually something that I really like, that it is playable so fast. There's a lot of drafting / worker placement games out there that take their time, and they are beautiful games, and you might sit a little longer and play a little longer. But there's very few, at least in our collection, that border on the dinner time frame when it comes to playing with 2 players. So I really like it for that. The immediate downside to that statement is it takes pretty much as long to set it up as it takes to play, which is but I guess I could definitely excuse that almost and not be put off and not put it on the table just because it takes a long time to set up. Other than that, I really like the color scheme of this game. It's not very often that you get the pinks, the purples, and the yellows in a game that is not meant for kids. So all the other college or school kind of games are coming in brown or green or blue tones. So this looks very friendly and light and fluffy and magic almost,
very
Disney
warm.
magic, very warm.
You have these 2. The board is essentially these 2 gradients that flow against each other with orange and blue and pink and
and they're all the contrasting colors. So it's just a very nice look, and it. Well, I recognize, or I immediately said, okay, this is new. And from the artist's perspective, hey, well done. I like that. I said it earlier, making the joke that this is pretty much printed on the board senior friendly. So meaning all the spaces are pretty large. I'm very sure that you could compress the whole board down to maybe size.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure
there's a lot of empty space around your action spaces.
You could very well get away with this being a third shoulder. And
like this part over there to you, and I still would not have it look cramped. Just decrease the image to that particular size. On the other hand, it doesn't bother me. It bothers me when it comes to recording, and we have to have the fisheye effect on the camera because otherwise we can't have it on screen. But it doesn't bother me when we play. But it is odd. I just find it odd that there is so much empty space on the board.
I will make a stance here and say I would prefer this to be smaller, just in size, because if you want to play this with 4 and everybody has their own little maps,
you need a huge table for that. That's true.
Maybe don't go with the largest board you can imagine. Well, it's probably not the largest board you can imagine, but
it is very sizable.
Don't have a large board then with a lot of empty space.
Exactly, especially here on the career track. I find it very odd. I'm fine with the hourglass; it doesn't bother me there. Yes, though you could probably decrease that size as well. But it's just. I wonder why the decision was made. It was production costs or something. I don't know.
These tokens here are already so small that you'll have a hard time reading that on that distance. And then you contrast that to these giant depictions here that are...
they're pretty to look at. It's just odd.
True.
And I think you could get away with a smaller board, definitely. And still have it readable without a magnifying glass. That's what I mean. But I do like the... concept of all the different kinds of careers and how they change up your way to play, which adds to replayability for me. But it still feels very luck-based because you're rolling dice and you're drafting dice. And of course, you can modify them with the imps and such, but it still... feels I feel like Ron Weasley sometimes being, is this magic spell gonna work or is it not? And I screwed myself over. I'm gonna talk about that in the experiences with the dice rolling.
I had the feeling that the thief stuff is a little bit less powerful than the rest. Yes, the getting ahead on the subterfuge track gives you cheap points, but if you're playing just 2 players, then that's just 2 points for being ahead of everybody else. Whereas if you're going with the warriors, these trophies are worth a lot of points.
If you can get the right set. And that was very difficult.
If you heavily invest in getting just a lot of those warrior quests.
Tried that, and still there was some other dude at the table who always grabbed the ones that I needed, and it was kind of frustrating, And
same with these cards, which are also very rewarding, I think. So it's not entirely the balance that you could say, I'm going to win this game by making the most awesome thieves. You have to grab whatever you can to maximize your points, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, definitely.
But yes, I do agree. I very much like that it is a fast game, even though it doesn't look like one, actually. I think it looks like a way more involved game. But then again, I also think this is a little bit on purpose because the theme probably is supposed to attract children or young adults who might connect with the idea of having your house of Harry Potter is still a thing.
It's not only still a thing, it is a major cultural phenomenon still.
Yeah. And it's...
of course, it's a wonderful way to, pay off. Also in some more generic colleges.
That was actually the thing that got me interested in this game when we saw it at Essen. So we went by NSKN and it was like, hey, this looks like a more drafting slash than action selection game but with you have your house and then you have to recruit teachers and students and send them out, and that sounds compelling to me. So I enjoyed it there, and I'm still enjoying it here. Mm-hmm. It's maybe not my first choice if someone says, hey, can we play a dice drafting game? It's maybe also not my first choice if I'm trying to play a game that is about, action...
Worker placement, action selection, whatever selection. You want to...
It is really I think the combination of it's fast to play and it has a not as overcrowded theme...
Yeah, and I would maybe use it if somebody wants to dip their toe in one of these mechanisms, but wants that not to be a 2-hour game and just kind of see how they maybe like dice drafting or how they like action selection or whatever, and just dip their toe, because that, like I said, one of the major pros for this game is that it's played so fast. So I think I would probably use it for that.
I also have to say I like about this that in this game you are not modifying the dice themselves too much.
Yeah.
A lot of dice drafting games tend to have that. So I could have easily imagined that this would say, here's your professor, and the professor allows you to turn your dice, or the professor allows you to add faces to a die, or to add a die, or something like that.
Or just flip it from a 2 to a 5 or something. This is just one pip that it modifies. And what I really like is that you cannot screw over another player with it, because when you have one of their colored dice, they keep the original number, so you're not screwing them over.
I mean, you can screw other players by picking the number they want to have.
Yes, sure, but you don't destroy their turn just because you take their die pretty much and modify it. So I really like that it's more you get awarded with an extra action instead of you taking something away from the other player, which is very heavily in the cards as well, and I like that a lot. Which
I noticed will understandably slow the game quite down if you're playing with, let's say, 4. In the 2-player game, it's almost not noticeable.
Yeah. And I think then the 60 to 90 minutes come in.
That's what I was trying to get.
Sorry. Didn't want to interrupt you there.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game that there's not that much to say about. Some other things, and that doesn't have necessarily something to do with the game itself. While I really like the production quality of this, the board is great, it looks great, everything is very, very colorful and very nice. We had the unfortunate thing that our copy had some, like, one sheet of the tokens had a different or the wrong sheet on it. So, for example,
the wrong back.
These should have this, or these should have the warrior axe at the back end, but they have the thief symbol because the entire sheet was apparently the wrong one, which also leads to some of these. So these typically have should have the same image on both sides, but as you can see here, it's the wrong one. Luckily, A, it seems to match up, and B, you can determine that this is a warrior thing just because of its rose-colored scheme in comparison to. You can determine which is which on these, even if some have the
wrong back,
the wrong thing on the back. As I said, it's unfortunate, but I mean that happens to quite a few games, and in this, it wasn't bad enough to keep us from playing and enjoying it.
No, not at all. We just marked the wrong side with an X with a pencil, and that's that. Speaking of production quality and such, the manual I really liked. This time around, we didn't really have a lot of time to have him read the manual again before we started to play, so I had to read on my own, and then we just pretty much brought our combined knowledge to the table. We had a question or two.
Yeah, there's those were actually,
for the end scoring, I think it was.
Yeah,
right?
it was in regards to the students and the professors. But that's just
a wording thing.
I think it's just a weird thing to have mechanics-wise, and that was more causing the confusion than the manual, because the manual actually says you get points for more active students, and you get points for I think professor spaces or something like that. But one would intuitively kind of assume that professors and students are treated
like
the same,
the
but
ones that
actually students that you have sent away or lost are gone. So
so they're not. It's not counted how many you rotated through your house and how many apprentices you brought to the business world. the American way. And that was kind of odd. So that was the only thing that we had to look up. But other than that, I found that the manual was really written well. I like those tiny little pink boxes that they have with an image showing. Yeah, and they call out something for the first game or for just to remember, or something like, don't worry about that part here, though we kind of describe to you how that part of the board works. There's going to be something on page 12 where it gives you like a whole big example of that space on the board and how it's played, what you can achieve there and such. I really like that, and it was a nice way to end this year with a good manual. I'm sorry I have to put that in there, but it is a plus. I like when things make sense. And that pretty much, I think it is all that I can. Shall we? 1, 2...
hang on, I need
to think first?
I need to actually form an opinion.
Beepity, boppity, boop. Oh, come on! Macarena?
I'm hesitating because I said I like this game and I like that it's short and stuff. But I'm thinking about this is how adamant would I be about replaying this or getting this to the table more often? And I think while this is short, it's also very light. And I think it's weird saying on the one hand, I really like this as a fast game, and then turning around and saying, but I wish there were more interesting things to do or more depth to the...
What you really like is that it is for new gamers, and you can definitely, from the bird's view, see the appeal of that, and you like that because you're playing with so many different kinds of gaming groups. But then again, in the end, you are a seasoned gamer, so you wish for more in the games that you put on the table a lot. Yeah. So I guess that's...
So I'll say this. I would like, or I like this better if I know I'm going to play with, well, not newcomers, but at least players who are not playing board games as often or that often.
I forgot to say a plus, but you can...
But for like our regular gaming group, I probably would prefer to play something else. Although, given that it's fast and that's why it's still a good half thumbs up thing, you can easily throw a couple of plays in there or have this as a, I don't want to say filler game because it's actually a little bit more involved setting up just to be a filler game, but it is surprisingly fast unless you're playing with people who cannot make decisions.
Yeah, well, that's always the thing. One thing I forgot to mention in what I really like, the game comes with very, very diverse characters, and this is I really like that.
I thought you were saying diverse bags to stuff all the things.
No. I really like all the drawings of the apprentices and the professors, all kinds of colors. All kinds of gender, and that includes people that are not obviously male or female.
Like this fancy woman with the beard.
Show me which one is. No, there's one in there where I couldn't make out what it is, male or female. So I like that all the different shades of human beings are depicted there with a very, very nice style. And since I complain about games that are sometimes, let's say, a little offensive, I have to also call out when somebody does it good.
This is a very international school.
Yeah, it's I think what college should be. So let's hop into the last section, funny stories and experiences, and the teaser and the advent calendar and such. So dice drafting, right? You could say, well, you can always do something, you can prep turns, and that is true, especially when you do the Sarah and roll really badly twice.
I was about to say, do you know where the actual problem of dice drafting games is?
Here!
It involves dice. And,
it involves a person
and then, unfortunately, you're also playing with a person who then says, this turn, it's my turn to roll the dice. And everybody was like, no.
And I thought, because you can do something with whatever number comes up, right?
Yeah.
But if you
and then you have 6 2s or something like that.
Or you have like 4 6s, and you have no students that you can send on the career path to get the tokens. So you're at the end of the dungeon track already. So advancing that is to no advantage to you. You don't have any imps to
here's the good news.
You can build something and you don't have money to do that.
Here's the good news. If someone is rolling just 2s, you get to use your 2 twice if they pick your die.
Yeah, sure. Never happened. I distinctly remember 2 turns where that happened to me, where I had an empty turn in regards that I couldn't do anything purposeful or at least prepping for the other turn because I rolled so bad and I didn't have imps or money to actually do something with the dice, and there were 5s and 6s. You had money, you could do something. I didn't screw you over. I screwed myself over.
Yeah, you can
twice.
You can usually do something at least in this game. I mean, obviously you can go for the star player with any.
Yeah, but that kind of is redundant or not very strong space for 2 players, so we never went there.
It can happen that actually all the students you have are great, the professors you have are great, or they're already gone, which is also a possibility.
Never happened.
And then you end up with, well, I guess I'm then taking money and or turning money into victory points. That's also very interesting if you want to actually send someone out and do a quest or something like that.
Yeah. And the other thing that happened I think it was the first game, I had a lot of buildings and apprentices and extra professor spaces in my head counting, this is where I'm going to do the victory points because he's taking all the trophies that I need, so I couldn't get any of the extra victory points for the sets. And I was really heavily working on the, what was the red one? Warrior. That's the career path. Remembering. So I didn't have enough skills to pick up the yellow and the magic tokens. And then you learn, it's just 1 victory point for having 5 of the professors, and he has 2. It's like, but I'm counting all the apprentices. No, you don't.
Those are actually counting for 2 points because Sarah's writing victory with the W. Victory.
Yeah. It's fine. Victor.
Yes.
I cannot volunteer work. Yesterday in the talk o'clock, I had the same thing. I couldn't say volunteer. I said volunteer, and I left it in there because I kind of amused myself. So, but I managed to screw myself over in different ways with this game. And still, we were... In the second game, we were really close together in the end, like 3 points apart or something.
Yeah, it's not. I actually never had the feeling that one is really getting away and you have no chance. We actually, even in the other game, we also were pretty close. So.
Like 6 or 7 points apart, maybe. I don't remember exactly.
I mean, the scoring only goes up to 50 points, and while playing or when we played these 2-player games, I think we almost every time I bumped up to 50, but then got dragged back down to
because you had empty spots on your building.
Empty spaces, thing. But I would assume that it's you're getting a lot more points if you're just playing with 2 players.
Yeah. I can definitely see
the
that.
game I played at Essen is not really representative because we only played for 4 rounds, and I think we ended up in the 30s or something like that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's another game that does support my theory that there is more to the inability of rolling dice.
Yes.
Because I think it's a talent, or maybe I'm some sort of villain or superhero kind of thing. I don't know. Anyways, it's time for a teaser and advent calendar, right?
First the work, then the fun part, right? So
I would ask you now.
First I'm guessing, and then
okay.
opening.
So we're starting a new season, and the game that is to be painted is very fitting with the current season. And does it involve people who can see dead people? No. And it also fits very well with today's game because the educational part is somewhat present in the setting of that other game.
Does it involve penguins?
Yes.
Does it include environmentally heavy messaging as to what is a good thing to do and what is not a good thing to do on, let's say, fish?
Yes. You're good.
Does it involve actual injury of the players?
Yes. At least if you play with you or I.
Does it involve fingers that are turning things into deadly projectiles?
Yes.
Of icy doom?
Yes.
Okay. I think I have a good idea what game it is. Do you also have a good idea what game it is?
You can check out on Wednesday.
Just saying.
Wednesday is the day you will find out for sure on Draw for Initiative. So come back on to this channel latest on Wednesday. And now, because it's the second advent, it's the second game. Again, I packed it not very prettily, but good for camera unpacking fastness.
Again, maple. Bird's eye maple, untreated.
I used the wood that you...
Sounds like maple, yes.
So
first,
you do you. I mean, it's your advent calendar.
I assume there's another majestic animal hidden in this.
Probably.
Is it? If it is a duck on a throne with a crown, then I would be laughing. But
it's not.
It is cottage ducken.
Yeah, he was gardening this year.
Very nice. This is a hat I would never wear personally, but if you're a duck,
it fits him, right?
You can have a hat like this.
You know, otherwise he will have a sunburn, and that's really bad. And yeah.
Let's see what...
I don't remember. I really forgot.
Do you hear this?
What I put in there.
It's probably another dice drafting game.
I'm not sure. Totally.
Let's find out what this advent calendar is bringing. And...
Oh yeah.
It is a murder mystery thing, which I actually have played before, but
You have?
I have. I think that's... Is it...
It's a Mr. Casala.
I think I've played the iOS version of this.
Oh, okay.
You're running around trying to figure out who the murderer is, and then you also have to have lines of sight or something like that. I think...
It's a asymmetric two-player game.
I'm just confused because the board on the back with our Lord.
The Lord on the leg.
In the year of our Lord Bruno Casala and Ludovic Montblanc. Mont Blanc, sorry, with the art by Piero. Piero? I always get
Piero.
Anyway, so I was confused by that. But I'm interested how this plays against an actual human being, because I am flawed in comparison to the machine, which tends to beat me at this game.
I'm not sure. I'm just thinking about all the fugitive games we played, and I'm not sure if you're not a computer somehow. So, we will test the theory with this one.
Surprisingly, not a dice drafting game.
No.
Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
I'm looking forward to murdering people and then running away.
Oh, I thought you'd say murdering you and then running away. No.
Why be content with just one if you can have
multiples?
A full city of London in
1800 something?
In 1888.
I'm good. I'm really good. And that is all for this week, I think. We're done with this couch. Next week, we will have the last final Gamers Couch for this year. So get ready for a review of the year.
It is the last final or the final last? Or is it the penultimate last?
It will be your last if you're not being nice. At least for this year. No, we're gonna be back with a review of the year, talking about the top lists and such. So also opening the final advent calendar boxes and having one more teaser for the Gamers Couch, for the Draw for Initiative this year, the stuff.
So this is the last game we talk about.
Yeah, for this year.
For this year. I mean, we will talk about games, but not in this format. So
not this year.
Thanks for sticking with us until now. And I mean, we will be rambling way more again next week, and then we will be away, because then we need to go back to go back into our cocoons and rest a little bit, have the biomass
Speak for yourself. I'm like a bear. I'm going to be in hibernation or something.
We
also called holidays.
Once we have reported to our insect overlords, we will be back next year talking about probably games.
Oh, very likely, though. Very likely.
There's a plan. A strong chance of games in coming.
In my magic glass bubble, and Professor Trelawney already told me, hey, there's going to be games. So
yes.
But for now, we're going to leave you. Have a great second Advent Sunday. Enjoy yourselves. Maybe you got time to play something with your friends and family. That would be lovely. Mm-hmm. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below or on the geek list over on Board Game Geek. For this show, there's a geek list as well as for Draw for Initiative, so you can take a look if you so desire. We're also available on the social medias that are in the description box below, and you can, get sneak peeks of what we are playing and what's to come up on the couch soon-ish, maybe. You can see that on Instagram particularly.
Maybe. We're not sure.
No. So have fun, take good care, happy weekend. See you next week. Bye.